So, welcome to this episode of CXO Wire. I'm hosting Shaukat Ali Khan from NHS West Yorkshire. Thank you for joining us, Shaukat. Can you please quickly introduce yourself?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So my name is Shaukat Ali Khan. I'm the Executive CDIO for NHS West Yorkshire ICB. And my role is to bring synergies across the West Yorkshire health and care systems. West Yorkshire ICB consists of 10 NHS Trust Foundations, local authorities, combined authorities, and other institutions who are as a partnership. We call it the integrated care partnership and integrated care system. And my role is to bring synergies in digital data and technology. That includes actually coordination with our national NHS colleagues or regional NHS colleagues, bring the best practices, and then bring synergies across the NHS West Yorkshire Integrated Care Board. And I think the other responsibility is to support all the GPs, around 500 GPs across West Yorkshire, to support them with their digital data and technology and day-to-day technological operations through my amazing team.
Thank you, Shaukat. Now, with all the rising geopolitical tensions in the region, the Middle East, organizations are rethinking about the way they design, deploy, and defend digital environments. Right? Resilience has now moved to top of the agenda. So, when you hear the term resilience by design, what does it really mean to you?
You're absolutely right. With the current geopolitical scenarios across the globe, actually, this resilience is becoming more an important part of our day-to-day operations. For within NHS, we take this very seriously. And then within the NHS West Yorkshire, resilience by design means we build safety, fallback, and recovery into systems from the outset, not as an afterthought. So it's part of our day-to-day standards, in our architecture, in our communication, in our support system. We put resilience by design in every aspect of that, whether we are supporting our GPs, whether we are supporting other trusts, or whether we are supporting any technological transformation. So we not only we are considering resilience from our end, we are also very interested in understanding and ensuring that the vendors, the suppliers, the partners we have, they also follow the same principles of resilience by design and security by design. For example, within our cyber insurance and continuity requirements are actually embedded into digital programs and supplier contracts across our integrated care system. It's not something we just added, it's part of our business, and even more now based on all these changes which we are experiencing on our daily basis.
Now, second question. With all this rising geopolitical tensions and even physical infrastructure is becoming a potential target, how was your approach to business continuity and disaster recovery mode? Do you think these recent events have forced you to fundamentally rethink your traditional BC and DR assumptions?
Absolutely. The traditional assumptions about stability no longer hold, and then you and I can agree based on what's happening and what we are experiencing and what we are seeing across. We are now on a regular basis planning on simultaneous disruptions across our institution, and this is actually an embedded role for a CDIO or CIO as well, to make sure and be prepared for any simultaneous disruptions across any institution within, for me, NHS West Yorkshire ICB or any other institution. And not only the disruption with regards to the technological part, but also from the supplier point of view, or with regards to regional dependencies, reflecting the reality of interconnected systems in health and care. So now I think the traditional assumptions are no longer valid, and then we can actually relate and resonate to what's happening around us. So I think it's from my point of view, I'm working with colleagues across the board to prepare our any type of simultaneous disruptions, whether it's a technological disruption, whether it's a supplier disruption, whether it's a regional disruption, or any international disruptions which we can see, and then what is the impact of that on our part. So I think our business continuity and disaster recovery is based on all these different assumptions, and then because of these political uncertainty in it globally actually, and then in some parts even more than others. That actually gives us the heads up that we have to even prepare even more and then regularly evaluate our BCP plans, our DR plans, and have we tested these BCP and DR protocols on a regular basis to make sure that in case of any big incident, we are ready to support and ensure that the institution is continuing its business.
Okay, Shaukat, RPO, RTO, they have been like industry benchmarks for a very long time. Do you think they still hold up in today's environment? Do we need to rethink about what acceptable downtime and data loss really mean?
Definitely, they are, if redefined around a clinical risk rather than pure IT metrics, because that's where we need to be mindful about what is the clinical risk rather than a pure IT metrics. Within our organization, West Yorkshire ICB, recovery expectations are increasingly aligned to patient safety and service criticality, not the system uptime, because that's where the criticality holds, where we are talking about the patient safety and then service criticality. And I think that's sometimes our focus on IT metrics rather than clinical risk is actually diminishing the importance of this part. But I think from our point of view, as I mentioned, if we redefine around clinical risk rather than pure IT metrics, then yes, it is.
As you rightly said, the digital ecosystems are becoming more interconnected. So, where do you see the biggest blind spots in today's digital supply chains?
I think this is a very, very interesting question, and it's not the system. Most of the time we are talking about the systems and then we go in that direction. But in my view, it's the shared and hidden dependencies beneath them. And it's not about the system, which we can see. A single shared component or supplier can affect multiple NHS organizations within our part simultaneously, which is why system-wide assurance matter. And then if I can give you an example of within NHS, I think we are very much focused on system-wide assurance, and the reason of that system-wide assurance is exactly for that purpose, that we are not ignoring any shared or hidden dependency beneath the entire system. And then it's very important to have the assurance across the board on the end-to-end system-wide. And I think that would be my view as well, that a small single component, recently there was a cyber attack from a third-party cyber attack that impacted actually the entire supply chain and multiple institutions around us. So I think what's important is that system-wide assurance, how we can ensure that, and then how we can focus and prioritize the assurance on a system level.
A large part of the enterprise infrastructure now depends on partners, cloud providers, and external platforms, right? How do you actually build resilience into dependencies that you don't fully control?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because when we are talking about resilience, it's not fair to say that, yeah, I will do the entire resilience myself or my institution, right? And that's where the most important part is that through collaboration, clarity, and shared accountability, we can build resilience around the system, as I mentioned. At West Yorkshire, we align standards, assurance, and escalation routes across partners and suppliers rather than leaving each organization isolated. And as I mentioned, as part of my responsibility to bring these synergies across the board, we have different forums like Digital Board, CIO Forum, AI Steering Group, and then multiple different forums to bring these synergies across, to agree on escalation routes, to share our best practices, to alert them with regards to any threats or any incidents, and then to jointly work and improve the entire, bring the clarity and shared accountability across the board. And I think all these things can only happen when we do a proper collaboration. And the collaboration is not only within the NHS systems. We collaborate with academia, we collaborate with industry, because there is so much to learn from each segment of our ecosystem, and then working with all of them, learning from each of them, and then sharing those best practices across the board is the way forward in this part.
So, do you think organizations are still over investing in prevention while underestimating the importance of resilience and recovery?
Yeah, I think so. And that's a risk in itself, actually. We assume incidents will happen, so we invest heavily in response, recovery, and command and control arrangements, not just defensive controls, because it's very important to have a preventive measures skill set available, the tools available, the design available. And when we do the preparedness for any of these systems, it's very important that we already anticipate that in case of any issues, how this entire system or is this entire design and solution will react. And that's where I think I strongly believe that this itself is a risk if we will not consider. And that's where we assume incidents will happen, as I mentioned, and then do a heavy investment in how to prepare for the preventions, not only prevention, but also for the response, recovery, and command and control, and the communication plan around that.
If a major cyber attack or infrastructure disruption were to hit your organization tomorrow, what would be your first operational priority in the first few hours?
Yeah, as a health and care system, the most important thing for me is a patient data, right? To protect patient data and to protect safety, but at the same time to ensure that the critical clinical services are keep running, because we are a health system, and then we have a critical data, but at the same time we have a critical patient to take care. So everything from technical recovery to communications flows from that single operational focus around the system. Everything goes in hand, right? But I think the most important part is that how to protect patient data and how to ensure the continuity of our operations so that our patients will get the treatments at any stage. And then in the background work on the technical recovery part, the communication flows around that, the isolation of the systems based on the magnitude and nature of the cyber attacks. And we do these based on our previous cyber attacks. We do incident management courses as part of West Yorkshire Digital Data and AI Literacy program, which we have launched. One of its vertical is about cybersecurity. And a couple of months ago, we brought all the cyber experts from around West Yorkshire to actually not only to share and discuss about these incidents, but also to practice, especially in case of any cyber attack happens, what are the best practices, how we can react, what is possible within NHS, what type of help we can get, what type of support we can extend to each other, so that we can regularly reminded and refreshed about, first of all, the reality that this is going to happen one day, the other small or big, but at the same time how we can react if something, because the most important part is that how soon we can neutralize in case of any cyber attacks, and how soon we can do the full recovery in case of any issue, and then absolutely minimize the loss in terms of operations and in terms of data.
Now we are talking about multi-region and multi-cloud strategies as the foundation of resilience. Don't you think that will add a new layer of complexity? What are your thoughts on that?
It can do both, right? Multi-region architecture improves resilience only when matched with operational maturity. So I think, and then skills and then clear ownership. Otherwise, complexity becomes a big risk. And that's where, as we discussed earlier, the system-wide assurance, system-wide our maturity is very important. So within our HS, we have a program called Digital Maturity Assessment. Digital maturity assessment is actually every single NHS organization, they have to go through every year, and they have to evaluate their maturity level on around 44 different criteria, different areas like leadership, governance, technical architecture, and then there are many things involved in this one. And the purpose of this is just to get the overall visibility with regards to the digital maturity across the organization, and also identify if there are gaps, and then focus on how to mitigate and how to minimize those gaps. So I think the most important part is that the multi-region architecture improves resilience only when matched with operational maturity, and that maturity we work regularly with our regional colleagues, with our national colleagues, and within our integrated care system across NHS.
And how important is sovereign infrastructure in your long-term strategy? Is that a regulatory requirement for you?
Now it's extremely important, and it's becoming increasingly important for trust, control, and continuity. So each within our context, for example, NHS West Yorkshire ICB, we are a sovereign institution, right? We have our own board, we have our own executive management, and then we serve around 2.7 million patients within West Yorkshire, which consists of 5 districts and all the trust foundations that I mentioned. So I think for it's the most important part is that our protocols, safeguards around our data, around our infrastructure, and then how, because of those protocols and because of those systems, the trust we have from our patients, and then how we can ensure there's trust towards our patients at all. It's about resilience, accountability, and public confidence, because as a NHS trust, we are answerable to our citizens, our people, right? And their confidence and their trust is really important. Just recently, we had a very long day with regards to our federated data platform, where our data can be stored, who should be accessing, how we can use this, because it's very important from the board point of view, from the executive management point of view, that we have a good control on this one, because our patients trust us. So we have to be responsible for their data, but at the same time we have to be answerable for the entire system about how this entire thing works. So it's about resilience, accountability, and public confidence.
Now, AI is reshaping both sides of the cyber equation. Right? They are leveraging, attackers and defenders are leveraging AI. How is that shaping your resilience strategy? How are you using?
I think it's very interesting, because AI accelerates almost everything, right? And that, when I'm saying almost everything, that goes for both attack and defense, right? And AI helps to all the attackers as well, but of course AI also helps us to defend. So we are preparing for fast, more automated threat, while also using AI to strengthen detection, insight, and operational response. So I think what's important for us is that AI, how we are using AI in detection part, in the defense part, but at the same time how we are bringing awareness of the use of AI within our colleagues, upskilling them about the right use of AI, responsible use of AI, and especially have a good understanding about where AI can be used to attack, so that we are ready to defend those types of things. So I think it's an ongoing journey for us. It's an ongoing journey where we collaborate with the industry, we collaborate with academia, we learn from them, we learn from within NHS, from our regions, from our national, from different NHS trust foundations, to understand where it is working, what are the use cases they are using, which we can leverage based on our context. And I think this is an area which will continue for a long time, and that's where I think it's not only a national or regional collaborations are required, international collaborations are required. And that's where we launched a distinguished lecture series within the NHS West Yorkshire ICB, where we bring international experts to come and then speak about, share about their experiences, their best practices, and then connect them with our national leaders, with our regional leaders, to see what is actually there for us within our context. So I think AI is just accelerating everything. The important part is that where we are using, why we are using, and then how we are using, and how best we are prepare ourselves, and how best we are preparing our users.
What is the biggest misconception that organizations still have about resilience today? What are leaders getting it wrong, and what needs to change urgently?
Yeah, the biggest misconception in my mind is that about resilience, especially, is that it's a purely a technical issue. Resilience is not a purely technical issue. In reality, resilience is about leadership. It's about prepared a culture and decision making. And as a technical team, technology is only an enabler for all those things. But the most important part is that how we are building resilience within our leadership, with our preparedness for all these activities, how we bring the culture of resilience within the institution, and then the entire decision making and governance mechanism across, and how we are using technology as an enabler to do these things. So I think the misconception is that resilience today is a purely technical issue, and that's not correct.